Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Relationship Arena. We're here in that space where we look at all things relationship. And today is a little bit of a different one than recent weeks because you know that I'm always saying that the relationship with others starts with the relationship that we have with ourselves, how we view ourselves, our experiences. And today I'm going to be talking to someone who I know very well and who some of you may know well because she's been looking after me and my business for a long time now. But I'm going to be talking to somebody about what happens when you find out something about yourself and it has an impact on your own identity. And it's going to be a really, I think, topical conversation in the world that we're living in today, that where we're having these wider conversations about neurodiversity. So that's kind of where we're landing it. But first of all, I'd like to welcome Anne, who's come from behind the camera onto the camera, which she doesn't do very often. So I'm really pleased to welcome Anne Little to the relationship arena.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's good to be, it's good to be this side of the camera for once.
Oh, it makes a change, right? You do all
Yeah.
the organising and now you organised yourself.
Yes.
So you have recently made a discovery, but it's been quite a long journey in terms of kind of getting to this point. So what's been going on for you, Anne? Tell our listeners.
Okay, so the headline sort of story is that this year it was the discovery that I'm ADHD, and so I now realise my brain works differently. And that
Mm.
was so in terms of kind of that discovery, very, very recent. But the journey itself has been ongoing. And I think I'm a massive kind of lifetime learner. There's always things to learn anyway. And learning things about yourself is always good. So there's always that kind of that in the background. But I mean, we were chatting before, and it's about 3 years since I did your
Mm.
Reconnect program, and again, kind of learning about myself. But even now, if I look back through the lens of knowing that my brain works differently, I think that process would have looked different. So after that, I realized lots of things about me even then, made lots of changes in my business based on that, and kind of went, do you know what? Some things align, some things don't, some things work for me, some things don't. So that was kind of, I don't know, a big milestone, not the start, but a big milestone. So this is kind of another milestone along the way that changes nothing because this is the way my brain has always worked. However, it changes everything because now I understand. And I've spent the last few months kind of just looking into what it is, how it works, how, the traits, how to overcome it, how I can work with my clients to actually help them overcome it, kind of learning from
Mm.
both sides. So it's been a massive learn. So yeah, nothing's changed because physically I haven't changed,
Mm.
but it's given me an acceptance. It's given me that understanding to kind of go, this is how I am. That's okay. This isn't how other people are necessarily. That's okay. And I think just knowing that again, kind of looking back, it doesn't change anything in my past, but I look back in the lens and think, okay, yeah, I was actually, I've always been all right. I've always been okay.
Hmm.
I just had to give myself a little bit of love, a little bit of kindness, which I didn't at the time.
So
So it's that learning's changed how I remember things, I think.
I know you've been on this kind of, self-discovery journey for a while. But what led you to get to the point where you thought, because it could be this. What led you to think I'm going to explore to go down this avenue?
Through lots of kind of um, dead end roads, which was very much you're a woman of a certain age. Let's look at
Hmm.
that. You're a woman of a certain age. Immediately, I'm in that category. And it's taken a lot to kind of keep going back and go, I'm not a woman of a certain age. And it was one particular comment with a therapist who went, oh, these traits, have you ever thought? that you might be ADHD. And in my head, I'm thinking, absolutely not. This is not me. No, I would have known. Don't people know? And really kind of like rallied against it in my own head, but of course, politely
Hmm.
went, no, no, I haven't. And she said, well, I suggest you go away and have a look at it before our next session. And I did. And ultimately, what was the real triggering point for me was an overwhelming fatigue that meant I was struggling to live my life. I was struggling to be present for me, for my business, for the children. And so that was the kind of driving force. And I found an article that the first thing was like ADHD and fatigue. And when I read through that and started resonating with some of the things, like, okay, I'm going to look deeper into this.
Okay.
And that's when everything kind of started coming together. And I was recognizing me when I was reading that and thinking, yeah, this I understand this. I understand what's going on. I understand how the chemical imbalance in my brain is making me do or specifically not do things. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Yes, I really want to do these things, but I'm struggling to do them. But that's okay because actually I'm not lazy. I'm not unmotivated. I it's okay. I can accept that there is a reason why I'm not doing these things, not doing the things I really want to do. And so now I can work with them. I can work and
Did it fundamentally shift how you felt about yourself, that self relationship? Did it make a difference in terms of how you viewed yourself? Did you have more compassion or grace, or did it just join the dots for you?
the overwhelming change, I think, was the relief I felt, the relief and acceptance of I am who I am. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm wired differently. That's okay. So I guess a kind of kindness because
Hmm.
it was the acceptance piece of that's okay. This isn't kind of lots of negative things like lazy, unmotivated.
Yeah.
It's a genuine, real thing
Hmm.
that actually means it's not my willpower that means I'm struggling. It's not a lack in me. I'm not broken.
So, mate, so prior to that, I know we've had lots of discussions, and there were times when you said, I can do all of this, I can get this done, and I just can't make a habit of this. I just can't make this stick, or I just can't get into this routine, or I just can't stay committed to, this goal that I've set. So, in a way, none of that changed. You didn't wake up, as you say, and have a whole set of different behaviors. You were still you, but it enabled you to have understanding of why that was and stop trying to force yourself to work in a way that didn't support you.
Yes. And
Mm.
it was the a permission and acceptance. So yes, the goals are still there, but actually, I've tweaked it to make them doable, or I've broken them down to make them doable. And it's I think there are so many people, I mean, in life in general, but in business, there's so many people saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah.
I have hated this term for a long time because I just think it doesn't take into account who you are.
Right.
And when I've worked with clients, and it's kind of tweaked the other day that actually I have been working like this for a long time, but connected the dots to say, actually, I can talk about how I work. But when I've got a client who says, okay, I want to do X, brilliant, and I'm going
Mm.
to do it by Y deadline, okay. And part of what I do is go, okay, have we done it? And there's like a first check in. No, okay, maybe there's a second check and it's still not done. And there might be a third check in, still not done it. And I could sit on that route and go, oh, you should do it. You should do it because if you do this, X, Y, Z is going to happen. You should do this. This is what you should do.
I feel like she's talking about me at the moment, listeners, by the way. She
I,
does
I
this a lot with me.
couldn't possibly comment. But and hopefully you've kind of noticed this is if we're looking at we get to a certain point and it's not being done, it's not a case of just hammering that and going, oh, you should do it, you need to do it.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it?
Hmm.
What's wrong with the task that means it can't be done. And it might be that you haven't got time, you haven't got capacity. It might be that it doesn't align with you, really. You think it does. And like, yeah, you've
Hmm.
got this big goal, but there's some kind of stumbling block over it. And actually that's what we need to look at. It's accountability with kindness. Yes, I'm keeping you accountable, but it's not just barking orders at you, because it doesn't work. And if there is something holding you back, then we need to have a look at that. So if it is, for example, that you can't get going because you've got low dopamine levels, me telling you you need to do that, it's not going to make the blindest bit of difference.
Hmm.
Me then saying, okay, well, let's do these three tiny little items, which you can easily do, I don't know, within 2 or 3 minutes each, and just build a little bit of just motivation in there. Actually, maybe that's what you need. Or maybe that, yeah, it doesn't work for you. Or maybe that it's such a big task, you don't know where to start because you're overwhelmed. It's it's about making it right for you. So it's not about the shoulds. Kind of lost track of it a little bit.
That's
But
okay. It's
again,
not, yes, but so you found these ways, you've realized that you were trying to almost put, a square peg into a round hole, and that wasn't working. But coming back to how you feel about yourself, if you feel differently about yourself now because you're able to have that more sort of kind approach and understanding and accepting, do you feel that that's impacted on your relationships with people around you and other people? Has it impacted how you are?
I think it has, because if nothing else, so I've just told you that I got lost a little bit of track. And before, I would have thought, oh God, there's something wrong with me. People are going to
Mm,
judge me. I've just lost track. And again, that kind of women of a certain age label comes up, doesn't it?
yes, very
And
much so.
there are, do you know what? There are traits that
Yes.
coincide with both. And there are lots of people who talk about kind of hormone changes, and the traits come out more and you start noticing more.
Hmm. Hmm.
But there are other things that aren't. And actually, I now feel that I'm able to say, oh, you know what, actually, it's not me. I've just gone off tangent, or I'm not being rude, or kind of not even having to say that. I can just say, oh, I just need to blurt this out while I remember it, but we'll come back to that. You're in the middle of a story, and that's okay. So actually, I'm having different kind of conversations with people
Oh.
because I can be honest, and I can forget things and actually go back and go, oh, I've forgotten what you said about that. Can you just confirm it and go back? And it is still a work in progress, but I'm thinking, but the thought process would have been, if I tell you I've forgotten something, you're going to be, well, how can I possibly trust you, rely on you to work with me in my business? That's the link that was there.
Hmm.
And now I think it's partly due to the people I choose to surround myself with, that they are kind, they're understanding, that they realize that, for example, the forgetfulness is not, I've got ways of dealing with it. It's not kind of, it doesn't make me a bad person. Then that's okay. So I can be honest about it. I go dog walking with a friend um, in the evening. It's kind of like, now I can have the conversation. Says, right, okay, I've got three things to talk about. I just need to, I'm going to put them at the beginning and let's thread them in. You can be talking. I might butt in. That's okay. We might go completely off at a tangent. So it's, I think, enabled my relationships to be a bit more open and honest. And I don't have to mask in front of
Hmm.
close people.
So I know a lot of people might be relating to this because we've seen a huge increase in awareness, realization, and diagnosis in both children and adults in terms of ADHD and ADD in recent years. In fact, now, sadly, there is a huge waiting list, for some people. But in in terms of sort of getting that, for you that sounds almost like it was a really positive thing. It was a positive thing that gave you understanding of yourself and helped you to have these honest relationships with people around you. Was there ever anything about that you needed to process and sit with and think, gosh, what does that mean for me? Like, why is that?
Not really,
Mm.
actually, because it was the sense of relief that was overwhelming. And yes, I've got to read. There are lots of people who look back and go, well, if this had come up earlier in my life, it would have changed things.
Mhm.
And I think, actually, very pragmatically, it might have done. But also, 40 years ago, when I was at school, life isn't wasn't like what it is now. There was no
No.
awareness. So I actually think maybe it would have been different, but I was I was never disruptive. So it's I mean, it has sort of come quite late in life for me.
Hmm.
So I kind of look back and think, well, it was what it was. I can look back at it in with a kind of like lens of kindness
Yeah.
and yeah, kind of the acceptance. But there's nothing particularly I've needed to sit with. It has
Mm.
been more like, okay, what now? Because I want to do something about it. I mean, people say, oh, kind of any kind of whether it's neurodivergence or condition, it can be a superpower depending on what it is. And there are positive traits within ADHD. There are also negative and draining ones. It is a balance. So, yes, let's
Mm.
not look at the sort of negative all the time. But for me, it is about saying, okay, how am I going to overcome that? Because there was a reason I went down this path because I was struggling with everyday life in some
Mhm.
cases. And whilst that struggle is not over, I was still kind of looking. So that's what I'm looking for. It's not so much about, well, isn't it awful that we didn't know before? I think I think I know at the right time when I am able to do the right things,
Do the
make the
best
right
thing with it. Do something positive
yeah.
with it. Yeah. Because you do worry sometimes when people receive diagnosis like this early on, and then we talk about labels, don't we? We talk about attaching labels. And there's always, I think, good reasons why people go down that diagnosis route, but it can become so ingrained in someone's identity that instead of seeing that that's how I am, and and I just need to adapt to make live a life that suits me, and bring others on that journey with me. It can almost feel like they're held back by it,
Mm.
and so there is a concern, I think, with so many people receiving diagnosis that it could be seen as a limitation for some people.
And I think agree with anything, and I think that's your mindset of how you choose it. So
Mm.
I do feel this is part of my identity now because it's the way my brain works. I'm not choosing to not do things. For example, there's something holding me back. I am trying to kind of like rewire, try to get around it. So I think for me, it depends on the mindset, but actually being able to, but almost a point of validation of kind of that's okay.
Yeah.
The label makes it okay, if that
Mm.
makes sense. But
Okay.
I think, yeah, if you're going to be that kind of person who says, okay, I've got X wrong with me, so I can't do this, doesn't
Mm.
matter what it is. That's that is a mindset thing, is that you're almost making the choice that you are going to be limited, but it's okay because you've got a reason to be limited.
So you're limiting yourself, really, because actually no one is saying this is a limitation. No one is saying you are limited. We're
Mm.
saying for lots of people, for lots of different reasons, we need to find workarounds. I did a post, I think, this morning on my socials from a video I found of a young lady who'd gone through some, really tough things, brain surgeries at a young age, etc. And her message was, my worst day wasn't all of that. My worst day was when I was in that mindset of, I can't do this. I can't do whatever it was. And to change that mindset to, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do this. And I might not be able to do it the way you do it, and or you, but I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do it. I'm going to move into that solution mode, and that really struck
Yeah.
a chord with me, in terms of how we view these.
I think it's exactly that. And there's a lady, and I can't for the life of me remember her name. She lost both her legs in the 7/7 bombings in London,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she has gone on to be a Paralympian. And you
Yeah.
can think, oh my God, that's an awful thing to happen. And yeah, doing it in a different way to other people. But look at that, that you've just been able to still go. And I'm not saying every day is easy, and actually, no, nobody has every day is an easy life for them.
Right.
But the mindset that says, instead of just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to languish here in a wheelchair and this is my lot. No, you can still keep going. It doesn't have to restrict you. It might change the options. It might change how you look at things, how you do things, but ultimately you've still got potential.
So how have people taken it? I mean, you've got hubby at home, and I'm guessing you've sort of talked about this with him, and again, it hasn't changed who you are, but what kind of responses have you had from firstly deciding to go down that road, and look for diagnosis and get confirmation, and then secondly with that information?
A little bit nonplussed. And actually, what I am sort of just going to correct the point. So I have not been diagnosed, and actually, yes, there's part of me that goes, "Oh my God, is this real?" But if you look at the waiting list for diagnosis, the
Right.
difficulties that particularly women of my age or people of my age are having,
Yeah.
it's it doesn't have to be validated. I
Mm-hmm.
think you
Mm.
know through the lived experiences, those kind of things. It's not just a tick list. It is very, very difficult. So equally, kind of anybody's watching this thinking, "Oh my God, I'm not diagnosed. I can't be." I think absolutely you can be. There are so many people on the waiting list who are on that waiting list because they believe they are, because their doctors have got to the point where they believe they are, and there are lots of people who have sort of made that conscious choice to say, "Yeah, I resonate
Yeah.
with everything, but I'm not putting myself forward." So I don't. So that as a point of kind of like, don't feel that you're not validated if you don't have kind of the
The
official
final piece of the
the
puzzle,
stamp on
right?
the passport.
Right.
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
and you can still have essentially it's executive function challenges, which I know we've talked about because there are other conditions that
Yeah.
present certain traits will present in a similar fashion, and that's okay. And you might be working with those. But yeah, kind of fairly nondescript. So I talked to my mum about it, and I don't think, well, not that she was overly surprised. It's a very different generation. I think it was just
Mm.
like oh, okay, that's the route you're going down. Of course, then I had to ask questions. Was I any different when I was in childhood? Well, that's 40 years
Right.
ago. Nobody can remember that. Um, and yeah, kind of quite nondescript,
Mm-hmm.
underwhelming.
Underwhelming. I love that. But I maybe in a way that's a good thing. Maybe it's a sign that we're becoming more accepting, that this is something that is just talked about so much. I don't know. But
I
yeah.
think so. And I think actually the response was less about the fact it was ADHD and more about the fact that I've been trying to progress with kind of finding out what was wrong with me. So that was the
Mm.
kind of the mindset. It was like, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me.
Mm.
And now I don't feel like that. I feel it's still there is still, so I still get tired if I do too much, but I can manage that better. So I feel less like it's something wrong with me. So I think that's the kind of reaction was actually, yeah, you have found out about that. Some people have resonated with me and sort of gone,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
actually. And funnily enough, those the people who resonate will not look at doing a diagnosis route for various reasons. So
Hmm.
again, it kind of goes back to the you can know, you can act on it, you can put all these tools and techniques in place and manage it without
Right.
that seal of approval by somebody
Right.
in an office somewhere. It's okay. So yeah, it was more about that kind of okay, you can manage it now.
Yes. And I know there are people sort of saying, well, I need, and especially for young people, I know parents are looking for that diagnosis. Because it provides them with extra support and extra resources. So, absolutely, if you are going down that route, that can provide you what you need. Lots of different reasons why people will choose to do kind of, different diagnosis at different levels. So, Anne, we've come to the end of our time, 30 minutes of chatting about this, and I think we could chat
Oh, okay.
a lot longer. Thank you so much for sharing your experience of this and how you have started to put things into place and how you're approaching it and that impact it's had on that most important relationship, which is the self relationship, because that's what feeds into all the other relationships we have. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
We have some more exciting guests coming up in the near future. And as always, if you have a relationship story, then please do get in touch because I'm nosy, and so's Anne actually, and we want to hear them. We want to listen to your stories. If you've got an idea about a topic you'd like us to cover, then drop us a note, and we look forward to seeing you here in the relationship arena. And I'm going to do the spiel I do at the end of every session, where I'm going to hopefully say goodbye to Anne and not cut her off completely. So take care, everyone, and see you here again soon. Bye bye.